Welcome. It is our fourth live stream. This is the Curriculum and Technical Support live stream for the Career Choices curriculum and mytenureplan.com. My name is Chris Powell, and today we are joined again by Laurel Ortez, our tech support wizard. Anything you'd like to say really quick, Laurel?
Just that we're here to help. However, anyone needs help. So I don't know that I'm a wizard, but we're here to help.
I think you're a wizard. Okay, so the question we are addressing today is, how can we teach students to evaluate and avoid the excuses they use for not accomplishing their goals? And you're going to want to stick around for the whole live stream today. We're going to talk about strategies for helping students not let those excuses get in the way of their success. We're going to hear some inspiring stories from well-known people. We're going to also talk about the perfect lesson to discuss diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a very, very important topic that is sweeping the nation right now. And then, as always, a link to free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff? So make sure you stick around to the end so you can have all of those wonderful things. So as always, we're going to start with the News Minute. And we are now joined by Brook Owen.
Hi, everyone.
On the curriculum support team. So for the News Minute, we wanted to remind everyone about the intent to apply to become a medal school. This is what we do to recognize our schools who are implementing the curriculum with fidelity and experiencing student success. That is the main goal, is that the students are experiencing success with the curriculum. So we would love to recognize your school. We will include the link at the very end of the live stream again this week, like we did last week. We'll do that for all of our links. We'll save everything to the very end as comments on our social media feeds. So make sure you check out the comment section after the live stream has ended for all of these important links. We would love to hear from you. We want all of our schools to apply to become a medal school. Even if you don't think you're going to earn a medal, we would love to talk to you and help evaluate your program and give you some tips on how you can have that student success.
And as always, again, we are going to discuss the newsletter. So
yeah. I was going to point out really quick, the very beginning of the newsletter, we've now put like a little table of contents at the beginning of the newsletter. So you'll see that's a new addition. So you can have a quick glance of what's inside and scroll down to the section that you're interested in.
Yeah, so we don't even really need to cover it because they can read what's right there, right?
That's true, yeah.
But something that I really, really wanted to point out was the very first one. This is something that we talk about all the time on the live stream, which is the videos and the online class agendas. So that's something that kind of goes through and talks about teachers, their teachers, how they've used it in their classroom. And then we also have a really cool resource this week. Well, we obviously are actually we're shouting out our live stream, which we do. Let's see, where is it? But the resource this week is...
It was right below the live stream banner. Right there. Yep.
Thank you. So it's an article
out just a little bit. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So article out of Edutopia. And I really loved the titles of the three things. They drove me crazy.
Yeah. We all know how important it is to be a lifelong learner, but this author, Lainey Rowell, she made some very interesting points on what we can do to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah. So the three things that she names, which we're just going to tease you with, is reframing your mindset, be less helpful, and ask more questions.
Yeah, the be less helpful one was very interesting. So it's hard not to talk about it. We're just teasing everyone today. So make sure you go read that article and see why Lainey Rowell suggests that you be less helpful if you want to be a lifelong learner. Very interesting stuff.
And then, of course, we have a big announcement. Save the date for our virtual conference in March.
Yes, March 10th. And Laurel, can you tell us how much does it cost to register for this virtual conference?
This conference is absolutely free.
What?
Yeah, it's true. It's free. And there are multiple sessions. So there's a lot to choose from. And it's going to be well worth your time. And even if you can't attend all of the sessions, if there are sessions that are happening at the same time as another one you want to attend, you'll have access to the recordings of these sessions for later. So for something free, there's a lot of value there.
Definitely. I think, how many sessions did we have last conference? Like 40 something?
It was a crazy number.
Yeah. And we like to highlight the sessions in the newsletter. This newsletter does have a highlighted session from the last conference about tracking progress in mytenureplan.com. So that's just one of the many topics that you'll learn about at this conference. So save the date, March 10th. But as Laurel said, if you can't make it on that day, still register and you will be able to have access to all of the sessions completely free. We want everyone to have all of this information for the ultimate goal, as I always say, student success. So make sure you check out that when those live links start to appear to register for the conference.
Yes. So today we are going to be getting to the main part of what we're talking about, which is the very first activity in chapter 9.
Yes. What is your excuse? And not only is this the first section in chapter 9, it's the first part of the third section of the curriculum, where if you don't know, the career choices curriculum is divided into 3 sections: who am I, what do I want, and how do I get it. So chapter 9 begins that final section, how do I get it, and this activity is the first activity in chapter 9. So it's a great activity to get students in the right mindset to push through difficult times, not make excuses. When they do make excuses, evaluate those excuses, analyze them, and avoid them. So yeah, it should be a great topic today. I love the quote at the beginning from George Washington Carver. I did a report on George Washington Carver when I was in 6th grade. So very, very cool man. He basically invented everything in the world you can think of using peanuts. So
Okay, now I need to see your report.
I'll have to dig it out of the garage sometime and show it to you. But yeah, he found, from the peanut, he found hundreds of uses for the peanut and invented so many things from it. So definitely check him out. But his quote that starts the chapter, it says, 99% of the failures come from people who have the habit of making excuses. And I couldn't agree with that more. And I see that in myself sometimes. So it was a good reminder from Mr. Carver on not letting excuses get in the way of your success.
Well, we have so many excuses today, right? Like, and when we use the word excuses, we tend to think that they're not valid reasons. But most of the people that I know who have excuses, they're really good excuses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And we have a list of them on page 197 in the curriculum. I love this activity because it gets students thinking about all the excuses that they could use in their life, and then we kind of flip their mindset after they check off the excuses that apply to them. So different things like, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm black, I'm white, I'm rich, I'm poor, all the different things that they can check off about themselves that they can use as an excuse. And when I was looking at this list, it made me think of a list that I saw online before. So just a quick humor break. People will make an excuse for anything. And I found this list of excuses that people use to get out of work. And so I have a top 3 here. Number 1, my grandmother poisoned me with ham. Someone used that as
That's happened to me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was going to say my dad poisoned me once with some old cooking oil that he used for French fries and hush puppies and things like that. So
Oh,
that was
geez.
awesome. But you're poisoned by your grandmother, Brooke?
No, like, I mean, yeah, I've gotten sick from things that, yeah, not a specific example, but yes,
Okay.
it that has happened before, yeah.
Okay. My second favorite one was also involving food. Someone called their boss and told them that they broke their arm reaching to grab a falling sandwich. And I can relate with that one because I love food. If I saw my sandwich falling, I would reach for it, and I could see myself falling and break my arm. So I think that's a legitimate excuse.
But like, wouldn't you want to make up? I mean, not that I'm advocating making up things here, but like, that's like really one of the most embarrassing things I can think of. Like, why wouldn't you just say, I broke my arm?
Yeah, that's true.
Leave
Yeah.
it at that. Leave out the embarrassing details.
Yeah, that's a good point. Probably leave out the embarrassing stuff. Yeah. Okay. And then number 3, my favorite one. I think this relates to a lot of people when it comes to their careers. This person called their boss and said they woke up in a good mood and they didn't want to come to work and ruin it. So just some funny excuses that people have used to limit their success and their potential. So it might be fun to share some of those with students as you're going through this exercise, after they check all the other excuses that could relate to them on page 197.
Spencer got a kick out of that too.
Oh, thanks for that emoji there, Spencer.
That's hilarious. But I mean, if you think about it, like, I really like the checklist in the book because it has opposites, right?
Yep.
I'm rich, I'm poor, it's so anything could be an excuse depending on how you're looking at it.
Yep, exactly. And then I love the excuses that have to do with physical challenges, discrimination, oppression, personal family problems, because we have a giant list of examples on the following 2 pages of well-known people who could have used all of those things as excuses, but they went on to succeed and reach their goals and their dreams in spite of those physical challenges and discrimination and so forth. So
yeah, and like I said, those excuses are very, very valid. Those are very hard things that people deal with.
Yeah.
But it's, are you going to let that be the thing that is going to keep you from getting what you want?
Exactly. And a few of my favorites from the list about they did it in spite of. I remember I watched some baseball growing up. I don't really watch it anymore, but I was in the era of Jim Abbott. I don't know if you've heard of Jim Abbott, but he was the pitcher for the Angels who only had one hand. So there's lots of videos of him out there where he would pitch the ball and then he'd have to move his glove over from the arm that didn't have a hand. So he would balance the glove on his arm that didn't have a hand. He would pitch the ball and then he'd quickly move the glove over to his hand so he could catch anything that came his way. And he was a successful pitcher. He did not let that limitation become an excuse for him in reaching the thing that he wanted to reach. So One very cool statistic is he won 12 games his rookie season, even
Whoa!
with one hand. So, yeah, very successful. And I think we all know the story of Bethany Hamilton also, the woman who her arm was
Oh.
bitten off by a shark. She could have let that end her career, but she fought through it, and she, even after that attack, she won a national title. So those were two of my favorite examples for physical limitations. There's also examples, discrimination and oppression. I love the story of Nelson Mandela. He became a political prisoner just because of the color of his skin in South Africa. And for 27 years, he was locked in a jail. And he did not let that ruin him. He came out a better man, and he changed the country. He changed South Africa. So wonderful story about not letting discrimination become an excuse. Another one that's it's very current in our time right now is the Supreme Court. There have been over 100 Supreme Court justices, and only 4 have been women. And so it's a hot topic right now. Like who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice? And President Biden has promised that he was going to select another woman. So we'll see what happens. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I know my wife is a better judge of things in my family than I am. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Any of the examples on those lists that stuck out to you guys?
I really liked Nelson Mandela as well, just like Spencer says. I mean, he's such an inspiring example, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the in the archived webinars about this, but he's such an example of years and years and years of patience and perseverance, and just being that example with that.
Yeah, I can't say enough about him. I was lucky enough to go to South Africa in 1995, right after apartheid ended, and just to see how the whole country had changed. Everyone was united. They changed the flag, to represent all the colors of all the different races in South Africa. So yeah, I can't say enough about Nelson Mandela. I love that example.
Yeah.
And then one final quote from the curriculum that I wanted to talk about on the bottom of page 199. And you've already said this, Brooke, but I wanted to say it again. You can't change the circumstances of your birth, your family, or your past experiences, but you can choose the way you let these things affect your life. So use these stories in your classrooms, especially the well-known ones that your students will know and can relate to, and let them see, examples of how people have done that. They didn't choose their circumstances, but they chose how to react to those and made the best out of it. So no more letting excuses slow you down.
Yes. And I'm going to share one more quote, and then we are going to move on to our resources from the online class agendas. Now, if you are watching live or after the fact, please comment below if you're using the online class agendas. I can speak English. And let us know how they're helpful for you and what you like about them. This week's online class agenda, we're just going to touch on really briefly because seems like we constantly talk about this, but the thing we really wanted to point out was those mini video lectures, both the Dane Blanton one and an introduction to What's Your Excuse by Jason.
Yeah, really, really great short videos, but they really get to the point. Talk about overcoming obstacles, not giving up, all of those things that set up the lesson about what's your excuse perfectly. So definitely check those out. A great way to get those lessons started with your students and get them thinking about that. And then the other activity on the agenda, the online class agenda that I wanted to point out this week was number 2, the teacher presentation. This is the perfect lesson to bring up diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think anyone in the education field right now has heard the acronym DEI. And we have tried to point out different places in the curriculum where it's so natural to talk about that. And this is one of those lessons. So when you're going over those, the checklist on page 197 and the examples of the well-known famous people who succeeded in spite of their challenges, it's the perfect opportunity to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm just going to read really quickly. It says, the ultimate goal is to help students realize their future is in their hands, and the best path forward is through education. At the same time, this is an opportunity for discussions that will increase empathy among all students. For example, students can explore the issues minorities face, and they can be conscious of any of their own biases. So, a wonderful opportunity to let your students talk about challenges that they've gone through and let them hear those from other students in the class. Create that environment in your classroom where students are comfortable sharing these things, and then that will naturally lead to the other students in the class becoming more empathetic for these struggles and being able to relate to people who aren't in the same exact situations that they're in. So definitely check that out also on the online class agenda. I highly recommend you use that part of the activity.
Yeah, it's so valuable to use not only the resources that we have of these famous, amazing people, but also the resources you have sitting in the classroom. These students are amazing, and they're incredibly resilient. They've had to be the last couple of years.
Very, very true. Yep.
So then we have a couple of suggestions from this book right here, which is our Instructor and Administrator's Guide. And we just wanted to touch base again briefly on this. I really liked the suggestion of bringing someone in who has overcome something significant. The Instructor's Guide specifically mentions a significant handicap, but going with DEI, bring in somebody who has those real life experiences, who's been able to overcome. And overcoming things and being successful doesn't always look like fame, right? It doesn't always look like somebody who has become the president of the United States, for example, although that is a very good example of it. But don't limit yourself to just big name people. Think about who has overcome something that they've struggled with. I also really liked the suggestion in here about having the students read a biography or an autobiography. Again, you can very easily tie in the diversity conversation here as well.
Yeah, that's true. And that made me think of George Washington Carver again. I read his biography in 6th grade, well, the condensed version for what a 6th grader would read. And it talked about how his parents were slaves and he was born into that life. And he had no choice of that, but he made the best of it and got himself out of that by inventing things. And it's just, yeah, I highly recommend reading his biography for this specific topic.
I am going to go back and look at it. Hi, Margot. How are you?
Hi, Margot.
Thanks for joining us. Margot is one of the most amazing people I've ever worked with, and I really miss working with her. But
that reminds me, if we forgot to ask people at the very beginning to chat in your name and where you're joining us today. Where are you joining us from today? So if you haven't done that, please make sure to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I did pop it up on the screen though. But one of the last things I wanted to talk about in here is there's almost a whole page of suggestions of things you can do in the classroom and stories from teachers who are actually teaching the course. So that's one of the really cool things about the instructor's guide is it's not just us saying, well, this is how we think you should do it in the classroom. It's examples of things that actually really work.
Yeah, this latest edition of the instructor's guide, it's our 9th edition. We made sure to really highlight that. We put in a lot of suggestions that come straight from teachers using the curriculum.
Yeah.
Well, and I just want to make a comment about the instructor's guide quite often, because most of what I do involves my 10-year plan. And quite often I am asked by teachers, do I need an instructor's guide to teach this course? And I tell them, you don't have to have it to teach the course, but there are so many resources in there to help you teach the course, to give you suggestions. And it's something that you can have and refer back to over and over and over again, that it's almost, you don't feel like you've got the whole course unless you've got the instructor's guide to go with it. So absolutely, it's a valuable resource.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely could teach this without it. I know a lot of people who have done it, but the relief that they have when we actually are able to get them an instructor's guide, and there's all these resources that are so easy to find right there waiting for them at the beginning of the day, it just makes such a huge difference, and it's not that expensive, so I don't understand why you wouldn't have it.
Right.
Yep. I agree completely.
Thank you, Laurel. I just wanted to point out we have representatives here from Jefferson Middle School in California and Cedar City, Utah. I'm glad you're keeping warm, Spencer, and I know you're probably being funny, but everybody here that I know in the St. Louis area has a snow day today because we have a solid sheet of ice and then snow on top of it, so nobody's going anywhere. So hopefully you are warmer than we are right now.
And that's why we live in St. George, Utah, right?
That's right.
I was going to say no comments from the desert peanut gallery over there. Anyway, I digress. But thank you for joining us. We love having people join us live, and we love you if you're watching after the fact as well. But I also want to I really, really want to get to the archived webinars resources because we are pushing our 30 minutes. So
let's skip right down to that this time.
There are resources and possibilities. It's a really good poem. Read it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, email me. We'll tell you all about our English language anthology. But the archived webinar we wanted to talk about today was it's called Using Personal Narratives to Promote Mastery for Overcoming Personal Obstacles. And this was a mentor-teacher webinar presented by Brian Slotnick-Lestrico, who is one of my favorite people on the planet. I do have a lot of those, but he is one of the most amazing people that I've ever come in contact with. Specifically because of his care for students and his understanding of this concept. He is not somebody who lets anything stand in his way. But he also understands obstacles better than most people, I think. But this webinar specifically, he talks about the difference between external and self-imposed obstacles. So helping the students identify if things really are keeping them and holding them back, or if they've just been told that so many times that they're letting it, or if they've just kind of created it in their brain, which again it doesn't make them any less challenging, but we have to deal with them differently, right? And my favorite example is the baby walking video that he shows in this webinar. And I love it so much because I'm one of those people that if I try to do something and I can't at least get a little bit of it in the first couple of tries, I'm like, you know what, this is just not for me. I have other things I'm good at. I'm good. But he points out, for a baby to learn how to walk, most of the time it takes months, first of all. really, if you break down the process, and he does, like the video breaks down the process and talks about it, and they fall on average 50 to 100 times an hour. I don't know, Laurel, would you keep doing something if you failed at it over 100 times an hour?
No.
No. That's not something we
No.
do as adults anymore, which is kind of sad, I think.
Yeah.
But this baby keeps going month after month, falling over several thousand times a week until they finally learn to walk, and they're not getting bribed with anything most of the time, except for like, come here, but they know they're going to get picked up later anyway. That's not like it's a huge, but they see these adults walking and they know that they want them to walk. So they have that intrinsic motivation to do it, regardless of how many times they've fallen on their little diaper, like they're going to walk. And so I think that that's something that ties back to the courses. It's all about that intrinsic motivation. If we really want to overcome obstacles, it's got to come from inside us, because if it doesn't, we're just going to be like, well, I tried. That's just not for me, because it's not important to us. And that's something that a lot of kids get taken away when they, graduate to bigger things like, my parents used potty training treats with us. So that was extrinsic motivation. And we do that with kids. The older they get, the more extrinsic motivation we provide, which may or may not be the best thing. So this course really tries to help kids get back to that intrinsic motivation. And then the other part, oh, goodness heavens. The other part of this is he compares 3 different people. One of them is a gymnast with no legs. The other one is a boy who is 17 years old at the time that he gives a speech, and he's got premature aging, which actually 17 is as old as he got. And then also Cameron Russell, who's a supermodel. And he shows the students that, and he has the students tell him which one of them have the biggest obstacles in their life. And he says you would be really surprised the number of students that choose the supermodel once we discuss it. And I'm just going to leave that there so you guys can go check out the webinar because it's amazing. So anyway, there's my rant for the week.
Well, that's great. And this whole activity is a good reminder for me too as an adult, like you were talking about, the older we get, the more extrinsic motivation we need sometimes. And so yeah, it was a good reminder for me to go back and work on some of the dreams that I've had that I used excuses to not do them. So very good reminders. I hope this live stream helped everyone out there who's watching it or who's watching it later. Now we want to see if there's anyone who has any questions for us at this time, and we will do our best to answer them.
And while we're waiting for questions, check out the upcoming webinars. I'm going to put the link right after we finish this. And if you need to contact us, there's our contact information, which will also be included in the comments as well.
Yeah, so we went a little long today, but I think it's okay. It was a great topic. Lots of great examples, resources you can use in your classrooms, stories you can share with your students. So please let us know, even after the fact, in the comment section, any questions you might have, any suggestions of things that other teachers might want to do in their classrooms that you're using in yours. So we love to see your comments, and let people know about the live stream as well. We're doing them every Wednesday at 11:15 Pacific. So hope to see you again on the next one. Any final words, Laurel?
Nope. Just looking forward to the conference coming up and hoping everybody gets in on that.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that. So those links should be live in the next week or so, where you can start registering for that.
Yes, and thank you for joining us today, Laurel. I always love it when you get to come on and chat with us.
Very welcome. My pleasure.
All right. We'll see you, everybody.
See you next time.